But first, the budget. I can't believe the spin behind this reckless, big spending budget like this.
We strengthen the budget and pay down debt.
Pay down debt? This budget does the exact opposite. Chalmers has got no shame. Here it's the government, it's got record taxes flooding in. Never had more. Yet every year for the next decade, this government says it's going to spend more than it earns. Deficit after deficit. The next 4 years alone, the government will add to our debt $112 billion. And that means gross debt will for the first time be well over $1 trillion. Yet this government, this treasurer, has the hide to claim it's actually cutting debt, paying it down, when it's actually soaring.
We strengthen the budget and pay down debt.
You had to hear it twice to believe he really did say that. And I told you, deluded. Now here is a government which last night said it would give us more debt, more unemployment, lower growth, and twice as many immigrants as we normally take. Yet the Treasurer's there claiming it's a job well done.
These are the dividends of our responsible economic management.
But I have to get to the craziest bit. I said the craziest bit. Because there are some people who are winners from this budget. And the one, the biggest winner, in fact, from Jim Chalmers' budget is this guy, billionaire global warming hysteric, Andrew Forrest. And when I say this billionaire's an hysteric, I mean it.
You're at extreme risk. So children, grandparents, or the already ill. Why? It's called lethal humidity. Millions of people will die.
Now, Andrew Forrest says global warming is causing lethal humidity. But don't panic, because he has got the solution.
That's green hydrogen, the purest source of energy in the world, and one that could replace up to 3/4 of global emissions.
Green hydrogen, hey? Small problem. Nowhere in the world is there a plant working commercially to make hydrogen fuel on the kind of scale we'd need. Nowhere. But Forrest has been going around promising new schemes around the world to use huge amounts of wind and solar power to create this hydrogen from water. That's how it works. And last night, Treasurer Jim Chalmers said, yes, we must back this.
This budget invests in our renewable energy superpower ambitions, including $13.7 billion in production tax incentives for green hydrogen and processed critical minerals.
That's only some of the spending that Chalmers promised last night on this green hydrogen. There's also $2 billion for the new Hydrogen Head Start program to splash cash on flagship projects of the kind that Forrest is investing in. There's a hydrogen production tax incentive. That'll cost us nearly $7 billion in tax write-offs. There's billions more in the government's new Future Made in Australia scheme that's especially for green energy schemes like these. Honestly, the government is betting the house, in fact, betting your house, on this green hydrogen, which Chris Bowen, the Climate Change and Energy Minister, a real evangelical, is also selling very hard.
Our green hydrogen future is fundamental to that clean energy future.
Now, of course, I get why the government is so desperate for green hydrogen to work. But if wishes were fishes, And that's because we're running out of electricity precisely because of Labor's global warming policies. So wind and solar power are simply too unreliable to make up for all the coal-fired power stations now being closed down. You saw the government last week panicking, we need more gas. The whole thing's a disaster. But green hydrogen? You've got to ask what the government's falling for here. Now ask yourself, if green hydrogen was such a world-beating, sure thing, money-spinning, great solution, why, of all the investors in all the world, does it need Australia's government to chip in to make it work? And if it's that easy, why do so many of Andrew Forrest's projects to make or use hydrogen get delayed or called off with no known progress? For instance, 3 years ago, Forrest and Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk, back then, promoted Forrest's planned hydrogen project on Gibson Island to make ammonia, and they made it sound like it was already a done deal.
What we're seeing is an industrial green revolution.
Queensland leads Australia where Queensland leads the world in really exciting, sustainable green industries.
How exciting. And the Albanese government, of course, last year gave even this project $13.7 million of your money. And still it wasn't enough, because Forrest has now missed his deadlines to commit to investing in that Gibson Island project. He blames Australia's structurally high green electricity costs. Not surprising. These global warming schemes don't work. But maybe now, with Chalmers offering billions more in help, Forrest may finally calculate he could clean up by cleaning out taxpayers. Look, the whole thing's really nuts. I mean, here's the Treasurer thinking, gee, we really are running out of power. You know, light bulb moment. We really are, and we really need something green to replace fossil fuel. So far, so good. So he thinks, what should I be backing in the budget with taxpayers' money? Either nuclear power, which, by the way, is safe, it's green, already operating in 32 countries. We know nuclear works. Could back that. Or should he back Andrew Forrest's green hydrogen, a highly explosive gas, by the way, that's grossly expensive to make, difficult to pipe and transport, never been proven at scale, working commercially nowhere in the world? And last night, you saw Chalmers' answer in the budget. He's going to go for the unproven hydrogen over the proven nuclear. The government's backing hydrogen, not nuclear, unproven over the proven, and promising billions of your dollars on this Hail Mary pass to save us from blackouts. As I said, it's the craziest thing about this most crazy budget. But for voters today, the big problem with this budget actually seems to be the handouts to billionaires, including to Twiggy Forrest. Now, the big energy relief rebate we're talking about here, the government offering, promising $300 for every single household, whether the people there are poor or mega rich. It's to cut their power bills, but for only 1 year, mind. And the opposition today had a great question for Labor, using rich Labor MP Andrew Charlton as an example, a man who moved from his $20 million home in Sydney's Bellevue Hill to go and represent the working class in Parramatta.
If we take a typical Australian, let's call him Andrew, who recently had to relocate from Bellevue Hill to Parramatta for work reasons and happens to own 5 houses, including a newly acquired $12 million beach house at Palm Beach, will he be eligible to receive the rebate on all 5 houses?
The Prime Minister wouldn't give a straight answer to that, perhaps not surprisingly. And out in the suburbs today, it did seem many voters don't understand this whole thing either, even if some are personally happy to get the $300 themselves.
No, I don't think it's. I think it's just buying votes. It sounds like it to me.
Not really. We got a solar panels at home, so it won't help us much with the energy bill.
I think that this is going to be helping us a fair bit after a very tough time. Inflation is taking us to a level that has been unheard of in my situation for a long, long time.
I think it was very easy just to say everyone's going to get it, but there are a lot of people that do not need a $300 rebate. A lot of people.
I think it should be means tested.
Why?
Because I think it's unfair that we are providing money to those people who don't need it.
But the opposition today seemed caught between criticising the handout, tax breaks for billionaires, but not actually wanting to stop the rich from getting their share as well.